25-7 on the year. They're there, and so are the Syracuse.
The sound of our Syracuse Orange basketball team getting the news live that they'd be in the field of 68, avoiding the NIT for the second straight year. We'll see just how close it was after Davidson beat Rhode Island earlier in the day. We'll check in with the fan base in our fan feedback segment. An 11-seed Syracuse takes on 11-seed Arizona State for a play-in game in Dayton Wednesday, March 14th at 9:10. Let's go.
Make some noise, Orange fans! It's time for the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it. We can't tell you thanks enough for that. All right, Joe.
What's up?
Sunday was rough. Sunday was rough, wasn't it? It was a long wait till 6 o'clock. First, though, I want to express, and I'm sure I speak for you, how proud I am of this team for actually making the tournament. They scraped and clawed all year, and they took some hard losses, and they got a couple surprise wins, a top 20 overall strength of schedule. Yeah. I mean, I just love this team. I love their heart. I love their fight. But, you know, and especially with the Davidson win in the Atlantic 10 Conference, I thought that did us in. I really did. But it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Well, I mean, they definitely didn't make it easy for us, those other teams, with St. Mary's and Middle Tennessee State losing. Middle Tennessee State probably would have been closer to the bubble if they would have lost maybe in their championship game or something like that, but they lost to Southern Miss in their opening round. You know, Nevada losing, and we knew they were going to get in. They got in as the 7th seed, so they were definitely in. And then with Davidson, who's not a bad team, they're playing pretty well right now, but them beating St. Bonaventure and then Rhode Island back-to-back days definitely stole a couple bubbles, and I was definitely worried that it was going to be one of ours without a doubt. So glad it wasn't.
And at that point, all I could think of, if that did bump Syracuse out, who got in over us? Like, what argument was I prepared to make as far as, you know, all the things we talked about last episode with our numbers and our strength of schedule and everything like that. So I really feel like that. What do you think overall with the new quadrant system and being able to kind of look in and see how the sausage is made, so to speak, and get a better idea of what they're looking at? Now we know. Now we actually know what they want. What's his name? Rasmussen.
Yeah.
Was on. There was a video of him, and he was talking about away wins and strength of schedule were two big components, and we knew that from previous years, but
right.
He tended to stress it there in the quad wins, obviously. So overall, how do you think it fared? Your faith in the quad system and everything altogether.
I think all it really did, to be perfectly honest with you, is probably just make it easier to kind of see where the wins came from. Definitely gave them something to go off of without a doubt, but overall, they still looked a lot at what they always talk about. And they always talk about non-conference strength of schedule and RPI. They always talk about stuff like that. They always talk about road wins. So again, a lot of the things that we've been left out in the past about, you know, that they say about us, we didn't have any of that this year. So it wasn't pretty, you know, it wasn't anything spectacular. It didn't stand out. It's just we weren't bad in any places, and we just matched up and compared very well to these other bubble teams. That's why we got in. We got in strength schedule, RPI, just numbers basically. No bad losses, road wins, good strength schedule. That's why we got in. These other teams, you know, they had some non-conference situations and issues, and even looking at Arizona State, looking at their resume, I would say that, you know, I would put us ahead of them, but either way, it's only one spot and we're playing them. So,
and even, you know, being Syracuse was basically the last team in.
Yeah.
And we through the Davidson win, Notre Dame was bumped out. And even though, I mean, Notre Dame went on a run. Notre Dame has a good shot at the NIT, I think.
If they care about it.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. But
And then Bonzie Colson's a senior, so do you think he really, I mean...
he probably doesn't care.
Not going to be that
much.
motivated to...
Well, so is Farrell. Farrell's a senior, too. So, anyway, but when you look at their numbers, though, compared to ours, we have to get in over them. I mean, I know they beat us.
It's one game.
It's one game. They beat us at home. And that was a good win for them, actually. It was probably a quad one win for them, right?
Right.
Well, at the end of the year, it still was a quad one win. So that was a good win for them, no doubt. Their RPI, though, was still a 70, and their strength of schedule overall is a 46.
Yeah. And they had a worse loss than we did with their full team before Bonzie Colson got hurt. So
right. So it was close. Did anything surprise you, or was it once you really got to see it? I wasn't really surprised about much, to be honest with you. I was surprised that Syracuse.
I like the way
that.
I mean, I think it's hard not to think about it. I think that I always thought that they had the numbers to get in, and
right.
I just always thought that I just don't remember the last time, if ever, that a 20-win team with a top 20 strength of schedule has gotten left out. And then you're talking about, we're top 20 in non-conference and in strength of schedule with a good RPI and all that. So I just think that it would have been against everything that the committees looked at to not have us in, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think it was one of those things that I talked about the last podcast, that as the week went on, as long as nothing crazy happened, I think that the more that people looked at it, the more that Syracuse's resume compared to everybody, and it actually was a little bit better. So,
yeah, and when did people stop rooting for a team that had overcome adversity in the entire year? They
don't care.
They don't care. But I remember the same outrage. Was it 2 years ago? When the same fools were doing the same thing, saying the same stuff when we made it as a 10 seed. And then we made it to the Final Four, and they still hated it. They weren't like, oh, well, it was justified. No, it was. They just still hated it. And even though we made it there, it was, pure luck. So we have
a lot of people don't like Jim Boeheim. So Syracuse
isn't
really, it's like either you love or hate type situation.
I know it's fine. I'm fine with it. So Joe Lenardi, he tweeted, I think this was Saturday evening. Here's my thing with Syracuse this year. Unlike the past 2 years, they're just not that good. And I think an honest fan would agree. Well, the bubble team, every single bubble team is just like not that good. I mean, that's kind of the point. But it's a good thing that we don't go just off of they're not just that good, and we actually go off of real stats and raw numbers.
Right.
Because, what kind of thing? He calls himself a bracketologist, and that's how he goes. That's how he judged it. They're just not that good. That's why he kept them out. I mean, he says it right here.
I can understand. Sometimes, it's sometimes in the past, and including this year, we've had to play ugly to win. So if you're a fan of another team, I can see how it could be hard watching a Syracuse game. And then on top of that, I know that there is kind of, I don't want to say like a bad hatred, but people just don't like Jim Boeheim. So you throw that all together, and it just, it just doesn't look spectacular. But if you really look at the games and look at how we stayed in some of them and some of the games that we won, they definitely are deserving. And again, you can't really just be biased, or you can't just go by like what you think. You just have to. You have to look at the numbers. It's really the only fair way to look at it. So, I said, it wasn't spectacular. We weren't spectacular. We weren't flashy. We didn't jump off the page. We weren't exciting to watch. But at the end of the day, we did what we had to do.
No, so. But every win was there wasn't too many handily won games.
Yeah, but losses too.
Exactly. Well, the loss to Duke, the loss to UNC in the tournament, and the loss to UVA, both times really. Those were games where we really kind of got whooped. And in the Wake Forest game, we got whooped in the Wake Forest game, the one we lost.
It wasn't.
We kind of did.
I think
it wasn't as close.
They hit some shots late to kind of put it out. But I mean,
it didn't come down to having a foul and things like that. So I mean, but
we talked about it in the beginning of the year. When you play that many close games, you're not going to win them all. And when it comes down to it, we had, 7 out of our 13 losses were to teams that were in the top 11 at the RPI.
Yeah.
Throw St. Bonaventure in there, and they were up there near the 30 mark. So we didn't have bad losses. So we went in and we did what we had to do, and we got some good wins. At Miami is a great win. So,
well, Syracuse, Syracuse.com was reporting. I think that I saw their non-conference. We said in the last episode their non-conference their non-conference RPI. I'm sorry, was a 14th in the country in non-conference RPI, and they had the quality road wins, Miami and Louisville, and then 4 games against conference champions in Kansas, Buffalo, Iona, and Texas Southern.
Yep,
and we lost against Kansas out of those 4. So, I mean, it's pretty good. I think the strength of schedule thing, the non-conference strength of schedule thing, I would try to keep that, decent.
Yeah. Well, not for nothing, too. St. Bonaventure, when they lost to Davidson in the A-10 semifinals. That was their first loss since January, and they made it in as an at-large from the A-10, so it's something they didn't do last year. So
yeah, that's crazy.
It's pretty impressive, and I've watched them a bunch of times this year. They're definitely a good team.
Yep. Here's everyone's favorite, Doug Gottlieb. Syracuse being in versus OK State is just laughable. Getting extra credit for Buffalo, Iona wins in non-conference. Cuse didn't beat top 3 opponent in their league. 3 best wins were at Miami, versus Virginia Tech, versus Clemson. Lost to Wake, BC, and Georgia Tech. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about. See, this is what's funny about this. Because in 2007, Gottlieb had said committee appropriately did not include Syracuse. You have to schedule people out of conference. Can't get in with low non-conference strength of schedule. In 2018, this was just the other day. How can Syracuse get in over Oklahoma State? Travesty. Committee screwed up. Cuse non-conference, by the way, this year was a 13, and Oklahoma State was 3-12. So, he totally contradicts himself. I mean, some of these people forget these tweets are, unless you delete them, they're up there, going to stay up there, and you can find them just as easy as anything. So, anyway, anything to say about Dougie? The hatred runs deep.
He's always been a Cuse hater, so.
Yeah, but I guess there's speculation that he wanted to play for Syracuse. I think his mom went to school at Syracuse, and he didn't get recruited by Syracuse. So, there's speculation there, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a lot of bad losses, but they went 19-14, and again, like you said, I mean, they lost too many games. They just didn't have the numbers when it came down to it. And realistically,
what'd they lose? They won 4 of their last 15 or something like that?
That was Oklahoma. And that was right. My point. That was going to be my point, was that Oklahoma State, if anything, they should have. And honestly, I do think it's a travesty that you look back and now Oklahoma State's a 2 seed in the NIT. So they weren't even one of the last 4 or first 4 out. So, and you can look at it as, looking at Oklahoma, I think there's other teams out there other than us. I honestly think, to be perfectly honest with you, now that, I know that we're in, but I think that we could have been a little bit higher. You know what I mean? I think we still would have been a playing game, but I still think that we had I still don't know how Oklahoma got out of playing a playing game. So,
true. Yeah. Dick Vitale was making that point. We talked about that earlier.
Right.
Talking about switching the two, basically, but.
Yeah, well, he'd rather attack Syracuse than Oklahoma, another Big 12, because he's Big 12 biased. So he'd rather keep as many Big 12 teams in as possible. So he's going to attack Syracuse. But the people that know any better know that the better comparison is them in Oklahoma. So,
all right, Jay Bill. This is the last one for these. Jay Billis brought up a point that you brought up to me. I went back and found it, and I wanted to mention it on here because I think he's a smart dude, man.
Yeah.
This guy is thought out and he's smart. Example why at-large selection decisions should be made last Sunday based upon regular season only. Alabama has multiple extra chances to boost its resume, while mid-majors like Middle Tennessee and St. Mary's can only hurt themselves. Conference tourneys should be about automatic bids only. Joe, I mean, what do you I mean, traditionally, you would say, no, you got to have the tournaments too. You got to have the tournaments too. But he makes a good point, though, because there are teams that can only hurt themselves. And there, it's going to be mid-majors mostly, and you have teams like in Alabama, and even Syracuse could have really helped themselves out too.
Well, and you know what too, it's difficult too, especially with some of those other mid-major and smaller schools. Is like you dominate a conference for so long, and you just get you're playing for one thing, and it's like you do so well all year, but yet you still have to win these last however many. You know what I mean? So. I don't know. It's just difficult. So
it is. All right, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that it's pretty. I would like that because there are some teams that don't really even. I would like to say and venture to say that there's teams that really don't care if they win their conference tournament some years, just based upon what situation they are in health and how their team is going, and they already know that they're going to be in. Sometimes a lot of teams just kind of overlook it because there's a bigger picture. But those are teams that already know that they're in. So I don't know.
I would be interested to see something like that happen. I would. You'd know earlier the bracket would be pretty much set. You'd just be filling holes. It'd be kind of exciting, you ask me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts? Syracuse making it in?
I'm just happy
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just happy, man. It's definitely just better to get in, bro. It's
right.
Better to get in.
Exactly. So, real quick, this will be the 33rd time in 42 years of coaching that Jim Boeheim has taken Syracuse to the NCAA tournament, and this will be the first NCAA tournament appearance for every player on the Syracuse roster except Frank Howard. All right, Joe. Time for fan feedback. If you want to get in on some fan feedback, go to Cuse Nation or Facebook.com/Cuse Nation Podcast and at Cuse Nation Show on Twitter. Jeffrey says Cuse has one of the best non-conference schedules with the highest win percentage with it. Plus, they have some good wins resumed. It won't give them a decent seed or go far or have easy matchups, but they should make the dance. I would rather see them at this point head for the NIT, even if seeding a win chances alone, whatever that means. I'm reading verbatim. So basically, what he's saying though is that he would rather have Syracuse be a high seed in the NIT than be a scrub seed play-in game for the NCAA tournament, Joe. What, do you agree with that even a little bit?
No, that's stupid.
Well,
sorry.
Charles responded, never better to go to NIT over the NCAAs. That's exactly right, Charles. I agree.
Right. No,
I agree.
Absolutely not.
Tim says, so many people said this season was over, but they're in, so it's all good now. Back to being fans. Yeah, that's kind of, you still have the
back
deniers.
To being fans?
Yeah. Back to being fans instead of being cynical haters.
I wonder how many fans just didn't even watch and just didn't find out until like the next day or somebody texted them or social media.
Well, we got our in-house hater, and he was on it. So, Terrell Lee says, fantastic news. Congratulations. Some wonderful young men. Let's go Orange. Glenda says, wow, lifelong Cuse fan, but not sure about this. I will be cheering for Cincinnati.
Doesn't even make any sense.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You're cheering for Cincinnati. Okay. All right. Well, that's random.
All right, Glenda. You have fun. Gwen. So thrilled for them. They deserve a shot. No player deserves to be on the tournament court more than Tyus Battle. Tyus, he's awesome. You know how much I love Tyus. I don't know how much I've said this on the air, but I love that guy. I love his demeanor. I love his attitude when he does get going. He's like a quiet. He's like stealthy, man. He's stealthy.
Silent assassin.
Yes, he is. And his reaction on that video of them watching the selection show live. His was the best, dude. Moyer's was good too. I was happy to see Moyer super excited. I really was.
Yeah,
I hope it lights a fire under them. Yeah, it's the most alive.
The most energy I've seen from Moyer in a while.
No kidding.
I guess his foot's okay. He's jumping around.
Yeah, no kidding. And by the way, Moyer, our buddy Boeheim is seen in the back of that video. You and we talked about that today.
Yeah.
So he was in there celebrating with him. So I guess it's not going to be tough for him to get in next year and be friendly and.
Oh, come on. He's been around the program his whole life.
I know, but he's hanging out in the locker. I guess he probably did hang out in the locker rooms.
Dude, he's probably been a ball boy forever.
You're probably right.
Going to practices and stuff. No, just an FYI, too. I saw an article that Tyus Battle's draft stock, he's gone up, I guess, to like 35th or something like that.
Yeah, well, the last I saw was just outside of first-round pick. So... Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like, Malachi Richardson. It was the run in the NCAA tournament that really
happens all the time, man.
Yeah, so
if he comes out and he shines and he's on the spotlight and they win 2 games.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Brandon B, love the Brandon B. Love it.
Yes,
he says, love it. Well deserved. I keep thinking on paper there's no way we're not a tourney team. Yeah.
Right there with you, bud.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. There's no way we can't make it in, but, there's so many little things that can happen that can spoil it. So, at QSlove44 on Twitter says, the highlight of my night was hearing at Matthew Moyer 13's laughter. Let's go Orange. Yeah, we mentioned how, the boy showed signs of life. It was exciting. I enjoyed that too. At Cuse 2015 on Twitter says it's laughable when people say Syracuse doesn't have a good reason for their struggles this season, like they haven't been dealing with injuries and a player leaving. Yeah, and I mean you could go back to, we've talked about this, we've probably beat it to death. In fact, you go back to losing Torian Thompson just a month before the season started. So, yeah. And then, you got the injury with Washington, but then Sidibe and Chukwu, he's going to have surgery when the season's over, and Chukwu has tendonitis as well now.
And we lost Geno Thorpe.
Yeah, and Geno Thorpe is gone. So, yeah, at Cuse 15.
It's been a lot of adversity, and to be able to pull out the season that we've had, like I said, and I mean, I think I'm ready to claim that this is probably the best.
Go ahead, say it.
The best Jim Boeheim coaching season.
I mean,
with what we have.
With what we have, it's excellent. And I mean, we talked about
at least top 5. But he's always had talent.
Yeah, but you've got
he's got some talent, but I don't know. I don't know if he's ever had this.
Can we be honest? We got Tyus Battle as the star of this team. And although everybody does pitch in and they've all, including Howard for the Howard haters, even Howard has shown that he belongs to be there, in my opinion. And I don't like the Howard haters hating on Howard all the time, but it happens. That's what happens when you're an athlete. At Orange Fan 2013, the best is seeing Tyus's reaction, and that's how we know him, watching and waiting, then full-on battle. And he's talking about the video we referenced previously. If you haven't seen his reaction, it is the best. And there's 2 different angles of that. It's great. So, how many times did you watch that video? I watched that video last night probably like, I think even my wife watched it like 3 times. So,
I'm not allowed to say. But, no, It was definitely great, but at the same time, like I said, it's tough to when you think about. I mean, like again, I talk about it all the time about thinking ahead and stuff, and that Tyus Battle he wanted to make the tournament, and I don't think he was gonna leave Syracuse without going to the NCAA tournament. So it's just tough because now that's just one thing that's just not gonna be on that list of why he might stay or go. And that's just the selfish fan in me. So I definitely would rather make the tournament than try to get a player to stay, obviously. But I just know how good we're going to be if Battle stays.
Yeah, so. I'd rather make the tournament too. But if you can get both, I mean, hell.
I just got a funny feeling, man.
If he goes off like Malachi Richardson did,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like we have good matchups.
But
Obviously, for an 11 seed, it is what it is. But
with
I think
with the recruiting class coming in, though, is that a trade-off that you're okay with at the end of the day?
with the recruiting class and then the transfer Elijah Hughes, the transfer from East Carolina, I think it's definitely going to be a trade-off. I think if everyone stays, then Bayham's going to have a tough time finding minutes.
I will miss Battle, though. I really will.
Oh, who won't? But it's the same thing with, but everyone that's kind of came through the last however many years with Tyler Lydon, Malachi Richardson, Tyler Ennis, Michael Carter-Williams, Deion Waiters.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go back almost a decade with these players that only stay 2 years and then they're gone.
I know.
Or one. So
right. All right.
It is what it is.
Yep. Mark says, Cuse, young team hung in there all year, gained experience. Yeah, I mean, look at some of these guys like Frank Howard. He'll be coming back. He's definitely going to be a leader of the team. If Tyus stays, he's going to be integral part to the team next year, and it's going to be a big deal. Let's hope he stays, but we'll see what happens there with that.
Yeah.
All right,
big ifs.
That's it. Fan feedback, like I said, Facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up there, and at Cuse Nation Show on Twitter. All right, dude. So this is it. We're going to Dayton. We get the late game on Wednesday, March 14th. So, Joe?
Yes?
Arizona State, I think weren't they ranked at in the top 5 at one or top 10 sometime earlier in the season?
At some point they were up to 3 or something. They were in top 5.
Yeah.
Well, they started off the season 12-0 non-conference. So that's why they ended up going up there so much. So
what happened to them? How'd they end up in a
I have no idea,
game?
man. Huh?
How'd they end up in a play-in game?
Phew. I don't know. They ended up 20-11. So they ended up 8-11 in the Pac-12. Their overall numbers at the end: 66 RPI, 74 strength of schedule, and 103 non-conference strength of schedule. There's non-conference wins that basically got them their first NCAA tournament appearance under their coach Bobby Hurley. They beat Kansas, Xavier, Kansas State, Vanderbilt, and San Diego State in the non-conference, and that's what got them their bid. And again, Bobby Hurley, I'm sure you've probably heard of him or remember him from the point guard back in the Duke days with Christian Laettner. He actually got a job to Arizona State 2 years ago from Buffalo. He led Buffalo to an NCAA tournament bid, and they almost actually had an upset. And I think you actually still to this day see the residuals from his coaching because you saw what Buffalo had done this year. So this Arizona State team it's going to go one of two ways, bro. Honestly,
okay.
I read something today.
What are they? You're making me nervous.
Well, I read something today that they compared them to the closest team that in the ACC they compared them to was NC State. They're not a really, really tall team. They got a 6'8" freshman, white, 6'10" junior, and a 6'7" sophomore, Mickey Mitchell. That's their biggest guys. So they do have a little bit of height, but nothing, overly crazy. But they're definitely a guard-oriented team. They shoot a lot of three-pointers. They start 3 guards, 2 forwards. And the best one, and the one we have to worry about, senior guard, 6'1", Trey Holder. He's averaging 18.5 points a game, shoots about 37% from three-point. And their other senior, 6'1" guard, Shannon Evans, who averages about 16.5 points, and he also shoots 37% from the line, and he actually shoots about 65 to 70% of his shots are from the three-point line.
Jeez.
So
what is he from 3?
Yeah. What's that?
What is he from 3?
37%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, their freshman White, he averages almost 11 points and 7 rebounds, and again they got a couple other guys. A 6'5" senior. Justice, he starts as well. So, and then another guy, a freshman 6-foot guard, Remy Martin, believe it or not, is his name. And so they go 7 deep in the Pac-12 tournament. They were averaging about 7 guys averaging 16 to 18 minutes at least a game. So they do play fast and they sub out a lot, and that's kind of was Bobby Hurley's MO. He plays more guard oriented, kind of up in your face and fast paced. So it's definitely scary because again, I believe they beat Kansas actually at Kansas. So yeah, the stats with Ken Palm though is he has them as like 124th defense and the 17th offense.
What?
Yeah. So, and that Trey Holder guard, he can go off. He's been pretty consistent for a couple years now. So, and again, like I said, it's their first NCAA tournament appearance under Bobby Hurley. So these guys are excited. They got a video out there too, where I think they might have been at Bobby Hurley's house. I'm not sure, the coach's house, but there's a video and they all kind of celebrated and they all ran out and jumped in the pool with their clothes on, and it was kind of cool. So they're definitely going to be pumped to play too. So they're going to show up, and they're a dangerous team. So it's like I said, it's one of those things where we got to play our game. 124th defensive wise, I think our guards are definitely going to. I think we'll be able to. Our guards are going to have size on them. They have a 1.65 shooting guard who's probably going to have to play somebody bigger. But the other guards are 6'1", so we're going to have a height advantage with the guards. I think our guards aren't going to have problems taking some shots over them, and we're usually pretty good again on the offensive rebounding. And a couple of these guys just look a little bit. Sophomore and a freshman at 6'7" and 6'8". I can't imagine their crazy physical presences. So maybe we can get on the boards as well. Again, that's what kind of makes me a little.
Yeah, it's always
a little bit easier. You know what I mean?
It's always hit or miss. It's why with this team it is so hard to kind of predict anything. So I mean, we know what they have to do. Obviously, they got to tighten up their defense because
got to guard the 3-point line.
Got to guard the 3-point line, and then
bottom line, make the big guys down low beat you. I don't think those guys are really the talent of the team. So they're not used to scoring a lot of They're not used to being relied on to score.
And if they play fast, you got to, we're just going to have to slow them down. We haven't had a ton of success on slowing teams down other than being on offense. You know what I'm saying? It's just we've gotten killed in transition by a number of teams this year. So,
well, those are the things. We've talked about it all year.
Yeah.
By the numbers, I feel like we shouldn't have a problem being able to out-rebound this team. And hopefully we can get some fouls on some of these smaller guards, get to the free throw line like we always talk about. And because of the way that they play, as long as we can come out on the 3-point line and not allow them to just rain threes down on us, and we don't just have bad turnovers, which can force to, like you said, transition points, fast break points, then I think we'll be okay. But
yeah, keep it close.
Pretty much, yeah. It's going to be close. Come on.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Wednesday, 9:10, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
9:10.
A little fun tidbit.
Yeah, give it to me.
Last time we played Arizona State was actually in the NCAA tournament in 2009.
Really? We've only played them once, right?
I don't know what the all-time is. I just know that's the last time that we played them. I remember watching the game. It was 2009. It was the second round. I looked up a little bit of it today just to kind of have a couple stats and a couple, but I think it said Eric Devendorf scored 21, Andy Roughton scored 17. We beat them to go on to the Sweet 16, and they had James Harden on the team. James Harden was with Arizona State. We held him to 10 points.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I read about that last night. That's right.
Yep, I remember that. So, and I still to this day watch James Harden in the NBA and do not understand how he played so bad against us. And unless the 2-3 zone just messed him up that bad, or he didn't have teammates, I don't know. But I remember watching him like he's not an NBA player, and then he got drafted, and I was like, suckers. And all of a sudden, this guy is. So, yeah, there's just a little tidbit about Syracuse, Arizona State history.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's it. We will get back here. There's a day. If they win, there's a day in between, and we'll just have to see. We'll have to play that one.
If they win, I found it out. It's Friday night, 9:40.
Okay, Friday night, 9:40. If they win,
against TCU.
If they lose, obviously, we'll try to get back here as soon as possible. Let's hope for a win, though, and
yes, sir.
Maybe we can let 2 by before we have to come back and they get the little break in between. So, all right, for Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
You just heard the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe.